So this is a winter squash. This is called a kabocha. It has green skin, orange flesh, and lots of seeds inside. They also have orange skin with orange flesh. You can use butternut. I find that this one has the sweetest flavor and cooks up with the nicest texture. Do not peel it, because this peel has vitamin C. There's no need to peel it. It gets nice and tender. And look at the work I just saved you. Once again, no excuses. When you don't use a whole squash, which you probably won't because they're gigantic, make sure you take all the seeds out so that the squash doesn't go sour. Put it in a plastic produce bag. You'll get 1 or 2 weeks out of it in the fridge. So, what does nishime mean? Nishime means in Japanese waterless cooking, and you'll see what I mean with that. So what we do is you're going to take a saucepan where you can layer. And you're going to take a small piece of kombu, which has fiber and minerals that help to tenderize vegetables, and that's going to go into the bottom of the pot. It doesn't really flavor it, and it doesn't add a lot of salt, so settle down. And then we'll take a shiitake mushroom, a dried shiitake mushroom. Save this little bit of water. The shiitake mushroom is also going to help to tenderize the veggies and flavor the dish. The next thing to go in are nice thick onion wedges. And these will cook up to be super, super sweet. This kind of size of cooking is what you do in the winter time. In the summer, if you want to make a dish that's this kind of a stew, you would make the onions and even the squash in smaller pieces. On top of this goes the squash. By layering the veggies like this, what you create is a dish that nourishes this middle part of the body and kind of puts the fire in the fireplace. Now goes in this little tiny amount of mushroom cooking water, a little bit of mirin, which is optional. Mirin is a Japanese cooking condiment made from sake. And because it's made from rice, it doesn't produce acid in the digestion the way like sherry made from fruit does. If you don't want to use it, you can use apple juice. But mirin will give this a nice sort of full-bodied sweet taste. And then a tiny pinch of salt, which will start the vegetables releasing their moisture. Now, the key to this dish is that the vegetables don't fall apart and look like mush. So what you do is you put it up over a medium-low flame and let the boil slowly, slowly build. If you do this on a high boil, you're making pate, which is fine. You can spread it on bread. But if you want a stew, you have to cook it slowly, slowly, slowly. And midway through cooking, season it with a little soy sauce. This dish will take about 20 to 25 to 35 minutes, depending on the size and hardness of your squash. And as soon as it's knife tender, it's ready to go. So we're going to let this cook, and you'll see how lovely it looks and how sweet it'll be. This is how you split a winter squash. First of all, when you buy them, very often you see these little dried pieces on there. If you want to, just go in and remove them. They just don't make a great mouthfeel. If you don't want to, it's also fine. All right, take your knife and you lay it next to the stem and push down and pull toward you. You need a sharp knife. Then you go on the other side of the stem and you do the same thing. And now you can break the squash open. I never said it would be easy. But if you want to eat winter squash, this is what you have to do. So your squash falls open, and that's it. Now, when you go to store it, because it's unlikely you will use the whole squash in a meal, take the seeds out of both sides so that your squash stays fresher longer. So you're thinking, what do we do about dessert? I mean, we talked about sweet squash, which we're going to get back to, but what about dessert? I mean, I love dessert. I love dessert too. We're going to get to that. But first, we're going to finish up our nishime. So what you want to do is turn your nishime off when it's ready. And the squash is nice and tender. Now, when it's to the tenderness that you like, which is just about sort of knife tender, the onions are nice and caramelized color. You see how the vegetables still have their shape though? It didn't turn into mush. This dish will be so satisfying for you, you'll lose your mind over it. And I mean, you'll lose your mind over it. You'll be making this so often that you'll forget everything else ever existed. So that's our squash. I'll be back to you later, sweetheart. Okay,